200 meters
Thanks, Kim.
east of us, and the EF2 target is 300 meters more south of us. So it's not a big...
I think let's travel to ED, because that'll put us in the middle of the feature.
Roger.
I think. I'm going by the map that Lizzie had up, since I don't see the HiPAC right now, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry, Tom, I just put HiPAC back up, so if you want to...
Oh,
I see it
hear
now,
what
thanks.
you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, yeah. That sounds good. We'll just go a little downslope to ED, and then come back up this feature to EF2A.
Yeah, and we can play it by ear, because we only have 15 minutes left, so if we shoot that way, if we see something, we can turn south and follow the ridge.
Roger. Yeah, cool. I just want to have your perspective before I hand over our watch.
I told you, you guys, I just do whatever you say. So if you say, hey, we're going back west, I'll be like, sure.
Sweet. Erica,
Great,
give me that shipwreck target. Let's get real ambitious.
If it wasn't
That's
so
where the
close
giant
to
squid
Lizzie
is.
coming on. Oh,
Must be. I mean, we haven't
gotta
seen
go
it yet.
then.
Yeah, exactly.
Hiding in the shipwreck.
I mean, that's the quintessential habitat for them.
we got 15 minutes to find it.
Yeah, this should be good.
Yeah.
100 knots, please.
All right.
Nice
So
job, Jess.
Yes, thank you very much.
communal efforts all around. So what's going to be your next waypoint there?
Yeah, so let's just continue to that ED target. It's going to be slightly downslope on this feature, but it's just going to be 30 meters total, over 200.
Roger that.
So
That's
Dew
going to
point.
be, what's going to be the bearing today?
it's going to be 080 still.
080, Rog. Take out a tether up. Yeah, I need to take that puppy out.
Bye, light bulb sponge.
Zero 080.
080. I brought us down a little just so we don't have a ton of layback or shade.
This dead coral looks, I don't know, a little newer. Doesn't look as compressed down at the bottom, but it's hard to say.
There's dead coral within this Faria habitat.
Yeah, Faria, Faria. either
Faria.
one. It was in a land Faria, Fario way. See why I don't write poetry? It just doesn't work.
That was lovely.
Just inspiring Marley to improve upon it.
I don't think she could. They've all been great.
I'm
There we go.
definitely going to write a poem about hagfish. Or a hagfish Christmas story.
I really want a hagfish Christmas story, Marley.
I'll send it to you guys, don't worry.
The scoop really looked like a stocking for them. What? Oh. I do that sometimes.
What?
My speaker. Never mind.
That grenadier looks like he's gotten eaten. There's all sorts of white patches, like something got a hold of him.
Some scales.
Or he got caught in something. Ripped off a bunch of scales, yeah. So there's definitely a heterocony skeleton there.
Right on the bottom.
Yeah.
I think these dead sponge reefs are just fantastic. Fly around. Very cool.
They are cool. Just like we said, though, it'd be really neat to see them alive, what it would look like.
Yeah.
Especially if they were alive all at one time. The whole thing.
That's what I'm imagining.
So when is
Me
Herc
too.
getting that time travel function?
I think it was next field season.
That's what we're hoping for.
It's
Yeah,
just a Google plugin, so we're okay.
They'll just take all our data, though.
There's a hagfish sticking out of it.
Yeah, I see a couple. Yeah, I wonder,
Yeah.
like, if it would have just had a different associates with it. Like the tunicates maybe wouldn't have been here. It's all conjecture.
Yeah, because I see the tunicates on dead heterocony, dead foray a lot. And I do see them on the rocks every once in a while, but sure seems they like this dead stuff better.
Yeah.
Maybe that's competition and they can live here and other things can't. Though it sure seems like there's a lot of things living on it.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things living inside of it. It's so complex.
Yeah.
Just imagine these like ramifying tunnels everywhere.
That's where the giant squid come from.
This is their
The
nursery
baby squid
habitat.
living
Yeah.
Yes.
Found it.
But there's some baby heterocony. Some other small sponges, like they're just starting to grow up. We know the heterocony will get bigger. I'm not sure the other ones will, but
So this is the third distinct section of this that we've found tonight?
yeah, third big one. There was a few when we crossed little tiny mounds, but this is the first one. Then we had one a couple 100 meters away, and then
so-
now this one on the other side.
Yeah. That's pretty much what I have in high pack. We had that big one that was on that slope. We had one that kind of came in and out. I'm trying to see where I put that. That was right before where we started seeing the sea pens. And then,
Roger that, yeah.
or sorry, right after
That-
the dead sea pens. It was in between the dead and the live sea pens. There was another kind of more patchy one of this. And then this is the other huge one. So I'd say we've seen two really big complexes and one that was, yeah. I don't know the connectivity between the ones behind us because they were all pretty within 300 meters. And this one has been a kilometer since then. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Right,
thank
so
you.
unless there's something like the north or the south that's connecting it, they should be distinct.
Right.
Do another move there, Ben.
I was going to wait, but I'll just do, yeah, I'll add 20 meters. Yeah.
Oh, good. Sure thing.
Randy marked the first one as sponge-tastic.
It really is. Yeah.
It is.
It is. I'm just going to add Faria for consistency.
Roger that.
Hey.
All right, guys, we are getting ready to start switching over for the next watch. Tom and Erica, this is Marley. I just wanted to say it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for being awesome watch shoreside scientists. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. You guys did a great job. Appreciate all your professionalism and humor and work that you put in.
Yep.
You guys have been great.
Right back at you. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
guys.
It's been
Alright.
super fun with you both.
All right, video
Hey,
switching
team,
out.
yeah.
Yep.
Thank
Alright.
you.
Bye.
Thanks
Alright.
very much. 4 to 8.
4 to 8 rules.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Adios.
It's
So Erica, you want to stay on?
it's the team
Or you
A.
want me to stay on? Yeah?
You're
A.
Team A.
Tom. You're the
A
one with
team
the
A.
It's the team A.
Yeah, Team A. Thanks,
Tom,
Kim.
you've been tracking the nav, so you should probably stay on.
Roger that.
Okay, thanks a lot,
I will.
Captain Leidig.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
All right, Erica. Take care.
See you soon. Bye.
Adios. All right, well, I'll stay on then, Lizzie, while you're logging in.
Hi, Tom. I'm back.
You just couldn't get off. Oh, no. Glad you're back.
Yeah. So we're at the. So we're back into footprint now, or are we over?
I don't have
the
that.
footprint?
Let me look. Well, we're still, I think, between. Let me see if her
Okay.
map has it.
Liz, well, Lizzie
Yeah, I
was
saw that,
saying
but-
we're in the. Okay. But we are in the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary.
I believe we are in the federal footprint reserve. but I'm just guessing by what she has on the map.
She's agreeing with you.
Oh,
Alrighty,
yeah, I can't
hello,
look at
8
that.
to 12 shoreside.
Well, hello,
Hello,
this is 4 to 8
4 to 8
still.
shoreside.
'cause-
Oh, well, goodness, we're a little early. Don't mind us then.
No, Lizzie can't get on just yet, so we're hanging on for a little while.
Roger. Are you interested in us continuing along, or shall we wait for Lizzie and just take some zooms while we're here?
I believe we're going to keep heading toward ED. And
Alrighty.
we can just travel there slowly while she gets on.
Perfect. And I have heard that this is, and confirming now looking at HiPAC, that this is a little downslope. And I do see that the ridge continues along kind of directly southeast of where we are currently down to EF. Is there interest in continuing along this ridge, or is the goal to get to ED even if we're going downslope and off the ridge?
You know, that's the same thing that Ben was saying, so let us turn and do a little bit southeast.
Okay,
There's no magic in getting to ED.
sounds great. Thank you.
All right, Chris, there you are. Hola, Chris.
There, can you hear me?
We hear you.
I can hear you.
Right. Hi, all. We missed
How's it
you last
going?
night, Tom.
Yep. Went out to dinner for my wife's birthday. Sorry.
5-3.
That's fair.
I'd get beat up here otherwise.
No grief to be given. Although I think we did discuss for a little while the level of grief that if you were around, we might have collectively put on Jess for some crazy collections and midwater column and so forth. So you were missed.
Yes. Well, that's good, I guess.
So I'm just going to jump onto the HiPAC and see where we are. ED, almost ED. Great.
Oh, there's a cat shark.
Oh,
That's
very
the
cool.
First one we've seen that I remember right now.
It's getting away.
A little cat shark. Sweet.
It's off in the distance.
What depths would you typically say we would see those at, Tom?
Anywhere between 300 to 1,000, 900, something like that, depending on the species.
Jump zoom out.
We're pretty stretched. I can come down a bit, but I know you're about to.
I'm just getting blown.
Yeah.
Yep, and the ship moves underway.
Reset.
Let's
I
do
guess
that
we're
too.
losing Doppler all the time.
Yeah, that seems like what's happening. There we go. Does that seem a little more accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine what this must have been like when these were living sponges?
Yeah.
Massive reef.
Yeah, we've been talking about that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It would have been spectacular.
Yeah. So how long have
It
you been
still is.
seeing this reef then?
This one just came up when we started to come up slope, let's say 70 meters ago. But we saw the first one of these at just about the dinner break. So close to the beginning of this last watch.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Just massive.
So we hit them on that. on that side of the valley, then the middle didn't have it, and then we hit this one again. So it's like each side of that valley has them. And they're huge.
Have you seen anything like this before, Tom? This is all sponge material? Overgrowing rock?
Yeah.
Or?
So the two that we've identified is the Pharea sponge and the heterocones. We've seen them in there that are mixed in. And I have seen it, but not to this extent in the Catalina Basin, where they're also almost all dead. So it's interesting that something is going on, probably years, tens of years ago, that killed a lot of these sponges.
So at one point, would you anticipate that that had been 100% cover, or that would have been little bits and pieces would have been alive at any one time?
You know, we were speculating on that, and I could go either way, because it could be that they were growing and pieces were dying and then new ones were getting on that and growing. But what's interesting is we hit these sections like this where you don't see any of the live Pharea. I see the live heterocone, but I don't see the live Pharea at all. So if it was growing sporadically, something killed it out completely. And then there's some areas where it's colonizing, but I mean, I don't see any of the Pharea here. It's weird. So Abby is putting in the chat that when they look at the healthy sponge reefs in British Columbia, they're a patchwork of live and dead sponges. So that may have been what this was like.
Bob, I'm going in for the junk soon.
Yep.
And she says there were big patches of the live reef building sponges, which we're not seeing here. We're seeing only dead things. Like earlier, when we were on the first one, we tried to sample some live, and it took us a while moving around to find a patch of live.
Hagfish and a sponge. Massive tunicates.
He's trying to hide.
A face only a mother could love.
Have you been seeing a lot of hagfish and sponges?
Yeah, we've been seeing a bunch of them, yes.
I saw one earlier, may have been the last watch, that had 3 hagfish and a sponge, and that was definitely the most I've seen in one sponge.
Is that a cuddle puddle?
That was
probably a cuddle puddle.
Oh, back to that again.
Hey. Lizzie's here finally. Sorry about that.
Hey, Lizzie.
Hello.
All right, you guys have a great watch then, and I will
Thanks,
sign
Tom.
off. Adios.
Later. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, they've been.
Oh, and I think we're seeing a coral.
Yeah, they've been
Coral
marking the
upper
beginning and end of these.
left.
I'll do
Upper
another
right.
one
There
here.
we go. Okay. Oh, then there's the end of it. Okay.
Just in time.
Yeah.
It's interesting though to see the type of habitat it's probably growing on though. And can we get a zoom on this coral?
Yep.
So I made it all the way to my office tonight and realized that my personal laptop with V-Link on it, I had left it in bed because I was watching the habitat photo mosaic with Lisa and I till 2 a.m. and then fell asleep.
Oh no.
And that's where I left it when I came to my office.
Oh, that's the most work from home problem I think we've heard.
This looks like a paragorgia. And a crab. Very nice. Okay. So Chris,
Yeah.
are you looking at HIPAC?
Up to speed with where we are.
Bob, I heard you in the background that time, but that was about it.
Yeah, sorry I coughed and I had to move the microphone away. Otherwise you would have really complained.
Thank you. Yes, I'm buried in these headsets, so I can't hear anything outside too much.
So it kind of looks like we're on, since this is the backscatter information, we're on a ridge right now, which we can follow southeast, but also just east of the waypoint ED. There's another like vein of hard bottom habitat. Do you have a preference, Chris, of which one we follow upslope?
Is that, let me make sure I have both things open here. ED. There's ED. And there's that.
So if you look at HIPAC, it's more obvious.
Yeah.
So pretty much I have ED. And then the goal was to choose either to go to EF2A or EF2B.
Yeah, I'm
choosing
like
either of those
EF2A,
like veins. Yeah, okay. So then we can just turn.
All right, you zoom out.
And Lizzie, to let you know, we had, before you had joined, we had discussed with Tom about, you know, continuing down towards EF since we were already on this ridge, and going to ED directly would have brought us off slope. So he had recommended just continuing down to EF2A, but we can obviously change course if that's of interest as well.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, this looks like hard bottom return and we're going in the general direction. And then when we get there, I had kind of two routes that are very confusingly labeled on my map, which is EFG2, which will then eventually curve and come west, or going towards like upslope towards EF1 and coming more southeast up towards Piggy Bank. But we still have some time before we need to like decide in that fork in the road. So I think EF2A would be a good start.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing EF1. Let me zoom out a little bit. Oh, I see. EF1 is all the way
to the east.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was looking at the HIPAC video that was paused. So if you had zoomed in, I was still looking at a zoomed out version as I was talking, which was just lucky.
Yeah, let me try to get rid of some of the, well, no, we'll leave these older targets. Okay, but I see EF1 over there.
Lizzie, did we get any, do you know if we got any mosaics or anything on the sponge reef?
No,
like
not on the sponge
sort
reef.
of dead.
I was going to ask you if you wanted something from the dead sponge reef.
I think I do. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I think it would be cool not to have a full like habitat scale mosaic, but maybe while we're here.
If we find like a bioherm that's like tall, because we were kind of finding piles and some of them there were like hills and crests. If we could find a taller one, we could do a short vertical relief 3D mosaic. I think that would be a good idea.
That sounds
How
great.
far are we away from where we collected the light bulb sponge?
Let me check that one.
I think it was labeled the Ferrea bioherm.
Was that 138?
That might have been. Let me.
Let's see. Light bulb.
Yes, 138.
Light bulb tunicate? Yeah. We are 80 or 90 meters by hypotenuse.
Okay. I mean, we're still in this dead spongy place, so maybe we should just keep looking until we find something appropriate here versus going backwards.
Works for us. Just let us know when you'd like to stop, and we'll just keep making small ship moves to move along this ridge.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Did we run into more reef? Because I had noticed it ended, and then I was looking at HIPAC for a long time, and now I'm back, and it looks like we're still in it. I'm not sure if we just turned
We
or
are,
if it reappeared.
yeah, we're still headed southeast, so it's just started again. So I think
Okay.
we're
Wow.
I'll keep dropping targets as we reach the limit, so we can get a sense of how far this is ranging down this ridge.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Sam. Cool. I'm tickled. I'm so thrilled. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm giddy over here. This is incredible.
Yeah, definitely. We were talking with Tom about, you know, whether or not this was something that was built over many decades, potentially centuries. Sounds like they had done a lot of theorizing about how this could have been built and what could have, you know, contributed to cycles of life here.
Mm-hmm.
Why we're not seeing the Furia, but we're seeing the heterocone sponges now.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of fish. I see some chat in the science chat if we've seen a lot of fish, and I wouldn't say a ton, honestly, so far. My office tonight. Should we do a round of introductions since we just did a shift change? And I can go first and kick it off. My name is Lizzie Duncan, and I work for the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary as a research ecologist. And I'll pass it over to Chris.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Chris Caldo. I'm the research coordinator for the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, where I work with Lizzie. I've worked there for 6 years, and the work you're seeing today on your screen is in many ways a culmination of a lot of that work, trying to get more data, research, and funding to go into understanding our deep sea community. So we're here in partnership with the exploration vessel Nautilus and the ocean exploration team, and I'll turn it over to them.
Hello, Samantha Wishneck here. Normally Ocean Exploration Trust Communications Manager, currently Navigator.
Yeah, I'm Bob Waters. I'm sitting in the Herc seat. I'm the facilities manager and ROV engineer at OET.
I'm Paul Glick. Most of the year I'm a PhD student, but right now I'm the Herc pilot.
I'm Al Santos, television broadcast engineer at home, and sitting here lounging, watching a really cool dive on Nautilus.
And in the back row, the lone person in the back row.
Aww.
All cruise long. My name is Steve Oskovich. I'm the data logger, and I'm also the science manager on this expedition.
Thanks, everyone. So we're in the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, and we are
Argus?
just south of the Santa Cruz Island and Anacepa Island Passage in the Footprint Marine Reserve. And we're just coming across, well, we have been on this dead sponge reef for, I think, about almost 100 meters now.
If we could even just get to a place where we had a couple decent sized live sponges,
yeah.
Maybe we could do just a small mosaic. This is really incredible. And I think there's plenty to talk about.
One, like a big berm. I had seen kind of where we collected that light bulb sponge, and there was this humongous, like maybe a meter across, white, barrely textured looking sponge that I had thought might make a good photo mosaic, but I don't know if it's worth going back, seeing as how it's still continuing on. We might get lucky.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see something else cool. That was a ways back, yeah. So I think we'll just pick the next epic spot.
Yeah, just over 100 meters now. This is
It'll be interesting to see if this shows up differently when we're actually able to process the backscatter, which is a measure of the intensity of the sonar return, and it reflects, a ship's sonar reflects very differently on different bottom types, soft bottom or hard bottom, and this is a spongy bottom, so you might anticipate, and it's certainly large enough that we would have different returns on it. So you would anticipate we might see something different in the data. All of this area we've been mapping over the last 5 or 6 years in partnership with a lot of groups, the National Marine Fisheries Service, and the Office of Coast Survey, the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries in NOAA, the National Centers for Coastal Ocean Science, and many others. By mapping it first, it allows us to sort of plan out our dives, figure out where we want to go and survey and try and find new and unique things, which we've definitely found here. This is one of the largest of these features that many of us have, that I've ever seen or even knew existed.
Can we name it? Like, when do you get to like name something?
If you
I'm
want
just saying,
it on
no
the
one else
chart.
has been here before.
Yeah.
This is brand new information.
If you want it on the nautical chart, there actually are procedures that Jeff Ferguson, who works with NOAA's Office of Coast Survey, that does all the nautical charting up and down our coast, mapping the area for navigational safety. He has helped me look into the process for that. So indeed, possibly we could.
I don't know if I need to get it on a chart necessarily, but even if in our just colloquially,
locally.
You know. Yeah.
I'm told piggy bank is not necessarily an official formal name.
Well,
I was told
exactly,
yesterday it had something to do with
it.
Milton Love.
Yeah.
Milton decided it looked a little like a pig and had something to do with funding issues. So he put it together.
I was thinking, since it's in between footprint and piggy bank, maybe we could call it Figgy. Pudding. No, not pudding. I don't know. Something interesting. I'm not very good. Sam, you're really good with playing plays on words. Maybe you can help. And everyone on Nautilus can help. Yeah. It's cool to see that when we have this hard bottom, we're getting some of these taller paragorgia species of corals. Not living on the sponges, but every now and then you see a rock.
There's quite a sea pen garden we went through earlier. Did you see that?
Oh, I saw that too. I was like, wow, there's just so many of everything here.
So folks watching, this was not our originally planned dive for tonight. We had originally planned to go elsewhere, but we've had a couple close calls in terms of getting entangled with fishing gear, and our next dive is going to take us to a place that might also have had potential for impact, and that's awfully risky when you're dealing with tethered ROVs tied to a boat at the surface. So we came up with a backup plan, and that's what we're seeing here, and I think we're pretty excited that we did.
Yes, definitely. Well, in our original plan for this dive, even though it was kind of a little bit last minute this morning to plan it, was we dropped down just southeast of here for our dive that we did last night and all of yesterday. We dropped down in a living sponge garden, so not necessarily these dead glass sponge reefs, but hard bottom with cobbly rocks and rocky outcrops covered in larger species of sponges, and there was a pretty darn good diversity, and they were also pretty large, which we think indicates that they're definitely older sponges. So our aim was to kind of validate some of that mapping information that Chris talked about, and then also kind of end up eventually in that area where we first reached bottom yesterday to do another mosaic in that area, since it was pretty awesome. So we're headed there, but we encountered this really awesome glass sponge reef here. And you can see that sponge to the right, that is the similar one that I was kind of referring to, that was just really, really big. In the other area, I had an idea as a mosaic, so probably encounter more.
So this mission is part of a suite of missions we've had up and down the West Coast throughout marine sanctuaries, the federally protected marine sanctuaries, ranging from the Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary off of Washington down to Cordell Bank, Greater Farallones, Monterey Bay, and our sanctuary, Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary in California. The work was funded in large part by the Office of Marine Sanctuaries for the vessel time and NOAA's West Coast Deep Sea Coral Initiative, which is funded by NOAA's Deep Sea Coral Research and Technology Program. And that program is a cross-line office program. We're working here together with our partners, friends, and colleagues at NOAA's National Marine Fisheries Service and NOAA's Ocean Exploration and Research Program to pull together these dives in this video, which we will analyze afterwards, counting up the corals and sponges and fishes that we see, identifying as many critters as we can so we get a better understanding of their range, their abundance and distribution, so we can better manage these resources. This is all incredibly cool, Lizzie. If after a few more minutes we're just seeing more of the same, I'm happy to just find a little bit of a rise somewhere and pick it and just do a couple spins, and at least we'll get a little
something something.
Yeah. Just understanding the extent of this reef will be incredibly useful.
Yeah. Well, and we saw several patches of it earlier too, so this just seems like the place that these sponges were really happy at some point.
All of this video and imagery is georeferenced, meaning we know exactly where the latitude and longitude of all these areas are, so we can look at this video later and understand where we saw specific species of sponge or fish and come back and check it out. And in this case, we'll be able to measure the full extent of this sponge reef and use that to provide information for resource management. This is so amazing.
Yeah. Oh, see, yeah, one of those really large barrel sponges were also growing on this reef, those are quite large. That's incredible.
So right now we're at 550 meters depth.
That looks like rocky, small cobble there in that valley, but it looks to be mostly hard substrate, like consolidated rock.
That is amazing, big sponge.
Yeah, that big, like, I think it's a Picasso. I'm not sure quite exactly, but that big yellow sponge, we've seen that white one is very similar to that morphology. It's just that the colors are different. We're also seeing a lot of these, if anyone's wondering, these kind of translucent ovals, like these almost little football-shaped things draped on these dead sponges. Those are tunicates, which is a invertebrate that filter feeds, and they can get pretty big. I think they're predatory, and we're also seeing a lot of these Acesta clams, so these larger bivalves we're also seeing on this reef, and a few crustaceans as well. And I was asking Abby, who is our sponge expert in the science chat, if at some point did we think that all of this would be living at once or most of it? And she said there would be probably higher density patches that were alive than we're seeing now, but we would not expect all of this to have been alive at the same time. It just would have come up in dense patches.
We didn't happen to throw down a marker at the beginning of the reef, did we?
We've been at the beginning of the reef, like on the last watch. I believe they've been dropping targets for each parts of the reef that we've been going over.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Lizzie mentioned the tunicates. That's that it's an invertebrate. It's actually one of the most closely related animals to vertebrates. It's actually, in its larval stage, has something called a notochord, very much similar to our spinal cord. But it doesn't look very much like an animal. Or a mammal, I should say.
It's interesting that this is so close to that other sponge garden, which did have a lot of these similar sponges that we're seeing here, but were alive. We're thinking there's heterocone, which are these big barrel-like sponges with the protrusions coming out of the side, so they look very lumpy and bumpy. We're also seeing Pharea sponges, which more look like leafy, frilly kinds of sponges, and we're also seeing many other species of barrels, plate-like sponges, other frilly sponges, and we use these kind of descriptive words because sponges really are not a well-described group in terms of their taxonomy, and so we're doing a lot of work, even during these expeditions, to collect responsibly some of these sponges and work on their identification, which is what Abby is doing. And we also have some other people on the West Coast that work on sponges as well, like Amanda Kahn. But the sheer expanse of this is just incredible. And when we say reef-forming sponges, this is what they're capable of. So we'll see often dead heterocone sponges or Pharea sponges elsewhere, where there's a handful, or maybe there's even a small mound of them, but they're glass sponges, and so they're silica spicules, which is like their supportive and defensive structures inside their cells and outside their cells, fuse together and creates hard substrate that other things can attach onto and grow once they're dead. So they kind of pile together like they are here. So we've seen this elsewhere, but not to this extent, like the magnitude of these reefs is yeah, just incredible.
There's some live
I wonder
foray
how
on the
deep
right-hand
that
side.
goes. I mean, this must be meters deep.
Yeah, that's another question I have is how deep does this go? How tall are these reefs? And because they're fused glass, essentially, it would take something very strong to be able to core through them to answer that question. And Abby's also letting us know that they've seen some of these reefs up near Canada, but they typically form under some pretty specific kinds of conditions in terms of the geology they're on top of, the sedimentation regime in the area, the silica concentration in the water, and a few other things. So she's noting it would be really interesting to characterize this area in particular to see if those, I'm guessing to see if those conditions match what they've measured in British Columbia.
Bridge nav. 30 meters, bearing 153.
Liz Clark is saying we need sub-bottom profiling to be able to tell without necessarily having to take cores.
Oh, that's an excellent point. Has the Nautilus been doing sub-bottom profiling while we've been operating for this mission at all?
When we've done some multi-beam mapping, I believe we did some in this area a couple weeks ago. We run the multi-beam and the sub-bottom at the same time.
The shiny stuff on the left-hand side. Does anyone see that?
Yes. Do you want to zoom? Is it a magical sponge reef?
Bioluminescence? No, it can't be.
Is it just like little mysids, sparkly mysids, shining in our ROV light?
Zoom in out.
Predation and scales floating.
They could be like a real like larval fish that have shiny scales. They were kind of down to the bottom left now. I feel like they were moving. It's like a little cloud of them.
Interesting.
Huh.
I saw one right there. I'm going to go with the magical reefs.
Real life exploration. Looks like magic. Follow the sparkles.
What are you guys doing on that boat? Hang on.
We're actually just a bunch of crows going after the shiny things. Last night we found a shipwreck, so.
Whatever it was,
Oh boy.
is gone now.
Okay.
So is my heading.
Yeah, 153.
Was that a space shipwreck we saw last night?
Oh, man. Don't believe anything you hear on the internet, folks watching.
Sorry I missed that shift.
It was far out, man.
Guess on next week's Ancient Aliens.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. We had a nice, like, you know, 45 minutes of real science conversation before we got into the, the speculations. That was good. Wow, these are massive structures here.
And I think the backscatter that I have in these maps that I used to plan this dive, the backscatter came from OET, so I'm assuming you guys also have the sub-bottom associated with those acquisitions somewhere.
That is a good assumption. Yeah, I don't know if we did
so
mapping in this area for this cruise or one of the other cruises over the last 3 or 4 years.
Probably not this cruise, but I'm assuming previously, yeah. Couldn't have done it without those maps. Never would have found this, that's for sure.
Reset again.
Wow, yeah, that's off.
Abby was saying some of these are called bioherms, can be 19 meters tall in other parts of the world.
Wow.
And that the sub-bottom profiling, the signature for these bioherms, they look like clouds, which kind of makes sense.
I mean, is this entire stretch considered a bioherm, or is it more of the like larger peaks?
Oh, excellent question. And it's interesting now, we're definitely seeing lower densities of live sponges than we did when we first approached the reef from the lower on the slope. It's a really cool sponge coming up here in the middle left of the screen. Something a little bit different.
So I'm of two minds, Lizzie. One, to get a 3D image soon, and then do a transect, so we actually have some quantitative data on this section. I don't know when the last transect was done. I should look. Or we just keep exploring and trying to find the super cool spot to get the 3D mosaic.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there, almost like a living edge, if there were just more living sponges on top of the dead ones, just lower on the slope for whatever reason. I'm not sure. So if you're looking at HYPACK, we're kind of following up this vein, this ridge feature that goes up to EF2_A. But if you look at my dive plan, as I said, I have kind of like that wacky choose your own adventure situation going on. And are you interested more in going to southeast to meet like EG1 on some of that really hard bottom returns, like go through Point U? Because Point U is where we sat down for our last dive. And we saw that sponge garden. So we would kind of go through Point U on our way to EG1. And we can take detours, you know, and meander there. Or do you kind of want to follow this around more southwest? Or even just goes straight. Yeah, okay. We can go anywhere. Any route we want to take. But I'm wondering if you have any thoughts. Oh yeah, to the right. Nice eye. Runaway ROV.
Well, shoreside, we are about 4 meters away from completing a ship move. Are you interested in continuing towards EF2A or?
Yeah, I guess, Lizzie, my thought, I'm looking at both your plan and here. If we go to EF2A, and then maybe we could head, I guess, almost due east and go maybe just a bit past EF2B. Now I'm looking at HYPACK, and see if that's just another similar feature. It might have the same extent,